What happens when the sanctuary of sound, the music that once uplifted your spirit, becomes the echo chamber of betrayal? When the hymns of hope are haunted by headlines of harm and the chorus of faith is drowned out by cries for justice? This is the reality facing the Christian music industry right now. A world once built on trust, testimony, and transcendence is now reckoning with one of its most devastating scandals. At the center of this storm, Michael Tait, the longtime lead singer of Newsboys, one of the most influential acts in contemporary Christian music. What began as whispers has now erupted into a full-blown crisis. On June 4th, the Roy's report dropped a bombshell, a meticulously researched expose detailing months of investigation into Michael Tait. The piece unveiled harrowing allegations of abuse, manipulation, and a culture of cover-up that allegedly stretched across years. The Guardian quickly followed, amplifying the claims and confirming what many had feared but hoped wasn't true. This wasn't just about one man's fall. This was about a system, a culture, a silence that spoke volumes. For decades, Tait wasn't just a singer, he was an icon, a familiar voice on Christian radio, a symbol of faith for millions, but now that voice is being recast in a much darker light. The fallout has been swift, the shockwave seismic, rattling fans, churches, and artists alike. Among the first and boldest to respond was Darren King, former drummer of Mute Math, a band whose roots in the Christian alternative scene earned them widespread respect. King had already contributed anonymously to the Roy's report under the name Abraham. But after the story broke, he stepped forward publicly on Instagram, and he did not hold back. In a gut-wrenching post, King urged everyone watching not to center the band, the brand, or even the accused. Center the victims, he wrote. Don't you dare make this about Michael Tait's legacy or Newsboys' reputation. And then came the words that hit like a hammer. Tait's response is bulls. He wasn't vague. He wasn't polished. He was raw, angry, honest. King claimed the abuse didn't happen in isolation. It was enabled, shielded, protected by an entire industry more concerned with preserving a platform than protecting people. According to him, this wasn't just about Michael Tait. It was about what CCM has become, a machine fueled by revenue, image, and silence. And he's not the only one sounding the alarm. Other artists, some publicly, others behind the scenes, have started speaking up.
I'm sure that many of you have seen the allegations brought against Christian musician Michael Tait from DC Talk and the Newsboys. There are two articles, one by the Roy's report and one by the Guardian, and I contributed to both of them, though my story is by far the least severe of anyone's mentioned. I decided that I want to publicly talk about it because I want to show support for my friends who are the victims of Tait's attacks. My story is that about 20 years ago, my former bandmate Paul and we were in a band together called Mute Math. We were invited to Macaroni Grill in Brentwood, Franklin, Tennessee, to go have dinner with Michael Tait. I was so excited to get to meet one of my childhood heroes, but quickly discouraged by, within the first 4 or 5 minutes of the conversation, he had, in a really forced way, found a way to stroke my ear and put his hand on my leg. Made me uncomfortable. I, after that meal, never spoke to or saw him again, thankfully. But about 10 years after that, a dear friend of mine confided in me a story of actual sexual assault that took place at Michael Tait's house, that my friend was the victim of, to clarify. Years went by and I heard other rumors, more just rumors of his constant partying and debauchery, not of assault. And then about 5 months ago, my dear friend Israel, whom I've known since 1997, I used to work for his parents, Israel contacted me about a news story that was being done. And if you'll read the story, you'll see that Israel was only 13 whenever he was assaulted by Tait. I never knew that story until this year, and I was heartbroken to hear it, but glad that somebody was actually doing the work of investigative journalism to start to bring all of this in the light. I was able to connect other friends of mine who had stories to each other and also to the reporters. And I hope that both of you reporters, I want to say right now, Jessica and Josiah, I hope you feel so proud of the work you've done. Great job. I want to talk about so much about the culture that facilitates and attracts these predators, but for now, I'll just say two things. I hope that everyone centers the victims as you talk about this and think about it. Rather than being worried about the fate of the newsboys or of Michael Tait, I hope that you first center the victims, honor them, and seek restoration for them. I hope that this goes to court. I hope that Tait is brought to justice in a court of law. Secondly, I think that someone can only engage in this level of predation for this length of time, potentially 2 decades, with a team of helpers. And I believe that Tait has a team of people who spend their time, energy, and money clearing his reputation and suppressing criticism or suppressing the truth. And while I don't know much about those shadowy figures, I find it very hard to believe that his bandmates did not know. The most recent report tells of hotel security camera video footage that we've now all seen. It tells of a police report. And if you know anything about touring life or the music industry, there's no way that bandmates and a manager would not know about a police report. So I think that Michael Tait's confession was BS. I think that it was an attempt to minimize the severity of the claims. I think that it was an attempt to deflect responsibility from his team of handlers. And while I know very little about the specifics of the machinations of their world, I don't believe it. I doubt that they were oblivious. And though I have left the church and Christianity, I still use the scriptures that I was taught as a child as one of my primary ways of seeing the world. And I thought I might share a verse with you that I was reminded of in this situation. This is Amos 5:21 through 24, the word of the Lord. I despise your festivals, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings, I will not accept them, and the offerings of well-being, your fatted animals, I will not look upon them. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not listen to the melody of your harps. But let justice roll down like water, and righteousness like a never-flowing stream.
Other artists responded with a quieter, more reflective tone. Mike Donhay, formerly of the Grammy-nominated band 10th Avenue North, posted a heartfelt video on Instagram that quickly resonated across the Christian music community. In the video, Donhay admitted he was deeply shaken by the allegations, while acknowledging that many within the industry had long been aware of Michael Tait's sexual orientation. He said the abuse allegations came as a shock. Still, he didn't stop at expressing personal grief. He issued a clear call for change. Secrecy always destroys, he said, his voice trembling slightly with conviction. Donhay urged fellow artists, churches, and fans to reject fear and image management and instead pursue transparency, honesty, and humility. His message wasn't defensive. It wasn't accusatory. It was pastoral, a plea for a Christian culture that leads with vulnerability rather than hiding behind platforms and branding. In a world where silence has too often served as protection for abuse, Donhay's words were a breath of fresh air, gently but firmly insisting that accountability is not betrayal, it's discipleship.
I want to say this about the state of the CCM industry. Been inspired by my friend Matt and been asked a lot about my opinion on some things. And I want to say this. I've been in the CCM industry since 2007 when my band got signed, and I've seen a lot of good and some not so good. And when blow-ups happen, there seems to be two radical responses. One, see, they're all a bunch of lying snakes in it for the money. Let's burn this thing to the ground. Or two, this defiant defensiveness. Hey, who are we to judge? God uses broken people. I want us to hold some tension in the middle. One, consequence and condemnation are two different things. We can hold people liable for their actions, that they would experience the consequence of those actions while not condemning them. That's why we have to forgive everyone. not so that we look over what they've done, but so that we can see it rightly. When we forgive, we're no longer looking for vengeance, we're looking for proper justice. Does that make sense? 2, it's all about integrity, right? So many people ask me, hey, so-and-so, 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 are they legit? Are they legit? Are they really legit? A better question is to say, do they walk in integrity? Are they the same off stage, on stage, backstage, around the stage? And that leads to the third point. Secrecy always destroys. We are not made to live in secret. I was astonished by some things that came to light because I know people, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Country Christian artist Rhett Walker, known for his gritty Southern style and heartfelt lyrics, eventually broke his silence after mounting pressure from fans and fellow artists. Notably, Walker is managed by a company owned by Wes Campbell, co-founder of the Newsboys, adding another layer of complexity to his response. His message was direct and unflinching. If the allegations are true, put him in jail. But like Mike Dunhay, Walker took a moment to defend the broader Christian music community, pushing back against the sweeping condemnation many were voicing online. He acknowledged the need for justice, but warned against painting the entire contemporary Christian music industry with the same brush. There are still a lot of us out here doing the work of the Lord with integrity. Matt Hammett, former lead singer of Sanctus Real, echoed that same tension, a desire for accountability without falling into despair or cynicism. Let's absolutely seek justice, Hammett said, but let's not erase the decades of faithful ministry from thousands of artists who've poured out their hearts not for fame or fortune, but out of a real love for Jesus and his people. For Hammett, this wasn't just a PR statement. It was a plea to hold both truth and grace in balance. The majority of people I've known in this industry, he added, love God, love people, and got into this for the right reasons. These voices, Walker, Dunhay, Hammett, remind us that this story isn't just about exposure. It's also about what comes next. Will the industry choose humility over hype, truth over tradition, and real repentance over rehearsed responses?
So I just can't escape this pull, this feeling that I should say something about what's happened in the Christian music industry over the past couple of weeks. Some of the news that's come out about moral failure and people who've been hurt. And my initial reaction is probably really similar to many people out there, which is heartbreak and sadness over what I've seen. But on the heels of that, I've also seen some people trickling through my feed who are kind of trashing Christian music as a whole. People who are saying there's tons of artists living double lives. I even saw a headline from someone saying they hope the entire Christian music industry crumbles, which is just totally ridiculous. Every genre, every business, every industry, every church, every organization that has humans will have people fail. That's not an excuse for what happened. But what I want to say is that I've been in this industry for 25 years. I toured with Sanctus Real for 20. I've been writing music in this industry for a long time. I have close community with a lot of people in this industry. And along the way, I've seen a handful of people fail. I've seen people go through dark seasons where God has restored them. But the majority of people I have known all along the way love God, love people, got into this for the right reasons, and continue to pursue to live what they preach. And so I just want to encourage the person out there who's like, is this whole industry just a sham? Absolutely not. I think the world, as much as ever, needs Christian music, needs people lifting up the name of Jesus, shining a light, lifting their spirits through song. And I'm so excited about what God has been and is up to in Christian music. And I just wanted to encourage somebody out there with that. Maybe there's somebody out there who that's not their experience, but that's my experience. And so I wanted to encourage you with it, that God's still doing great things in the industry, and that we should just continue to pray for the people who've been hurt.
And then there was Corey Asbury, the voice behind Reckless Love, whose Instagram reply said it all with just 2 words. Everyone knew. Was he referring to Michael Tait's sexuality, the alleged abuse? He didn't clarify, but the weight of his words echoed loudly through the industry. The message was simple. This wasn't a secret. It was a reality people chose not to speak about. So now the question hangs heavy. What happens next? Some are calling for the entire contemporary Christian music CCM industry to collapse and rebuild from the ground up, to tear down the idols and start over with honesty and humility. Others argue for radical reform, not destruction. They believe CCM can be redeemed, but only if it first confronts its shadows. Across the board, artists and fans alike are reckoning with uncomfortable truths: the cost of silence, the dangers of celebrity worship, the subtle ways platforms become more important than people and image outweighs integrity. But amid the chaos, there's also wisdom emerging, a call to hold two truths at once. You can grieve the damage done by those who abused their power and still cherish the music that brought hope. You can demand accountability from leaders and still believe in the message they once sang. You can question the system without abandoning your faith. Darren King, whose words have been among the most raw and unapologetic, pointed to the prophet Amos. I hate your festivals, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream. That verse cuts through the noise because real faith, true Christianity, doesn't run from pain. It runs toward justice. And until justice rolls like a river, this conversation can't and shouldn't stop. So what do you think? Are these artists right to defend what's good in the Christian music world? Or is Haley Williams right? Is it time for the entire system to crumble and be rebuilt from the ashes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you appreciate deep, honest conversations about faith, culture, and truth, like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned, because more stories like this need to be told, and together we can change the conversation.